Record. There we go. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sydney, and I am the Grants and Communications Coordinator here at the Community Foundation of Southeastern Alberta. As I mentioned, we will be recording, so you can watch it again or share it with those who couldn't be here today. In the spirit of respect, truth, and reciprocity, we acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples who have lived in and cared for these lands for generations. We are grateful for the traditional elders and knowledge keepers who are still with us today and for those who have gone before us. Today, we will cover everything about our community grants process and hopefully prepare you best you can to go ahead and write a community grant application. I'm going to cover what the Community Foundation is, our main granting priorities for this year, just go through the whole administration process, eligibility, and just give you some tips and tricks as you get started. So if you're not familiar with the Community Foundation, here, our Community Foundation of Southeastern Alberta, we have three pillars. We grow, we give, and we inspire. So we grow by working with donors to build our permanent endowment fund. So we accept donations. We're a registered charity as well, and we accept donations and we put those donations into a special bank account called an endowment fund. And those funds continue to grow investment income, and that it's that investment income that we are able to give out to charities and nonprofits through our granting process, through the We Give pillar. We also inspire by connecting issues and convening partners and just being a leader in our community-based solutions. So that's a little bit about us here. Our mission is to create meaningful connections between donors and local charities for the permanent benefit of Southeast Alberta. And our vision is a vibrant, healthy, caring community today, tomorrow, and forever. Just so you know the faces and the roles behind the Community Foundation, I just have a slide here that goes over our staff. We have 5 people here in our Medicine Hat office. Nikki Gray just came back from maternity leave. She's our executive director. We have Barb, who is our finance administrator. She's the one who writes all the grant checks. Rianne is our foundation services coordinator part-time right now. And then myself, I oversee the grants and communications for the foundation. And Lauren does our vital signs research. We also have 2 rural coordinators. Helen oversees the 3 rural funds, 40 Mile, Cypress County, and Prairie Crocus. And Nicole oversees Brooks and District. So if you're applying for a grant and you're in one of those rural areas, you are welcome to connect with either myself or Helen or Nicole for our area there. So to give you a really big overview of our community grants, the Community Foundation has 2 grant cycles in spring and in fall, and our community grants provide up to $25,000 per grant. An agency is only eligible to submit 1 grant application per cycle. Just want to clarify that right off the bat. We do accept multi-year funding requests under quite specific circumstances. The main reason we would allow second-year funding is if your project is brand new and requires additional time to evaluate those outcomes. Additionally, we also need your project to match with CFSEA's strategic plan. So if you're applying for an ongoing program or equipment or program we have previously funded, please do not check the box for multi-year funding because that is not eligible. We'll get into more of the eligibility criteria as we go along here, but I just want to give that kind of right off the bat. When reviewing community grants, our committee looks holistically at our region. So we have a very big region we support in Southeastern Alberta. As I mentioned, all the way from County of 40 Mile up to Brooks, and County of Newell up to the rural areas and special areas. And then the whole Cypress County, Medicine Hat, and Radcliffe area. So we have quite a big region that we support, and our committee works to give out grants as equitably as possible. They also prioritize impact for the grants. So, for example, does the project support a few of a small specific community group, or does the project support the whole community? What does that trickle down impact look? Those kind of things. So those are some of the questions that our committee uses when reviewing applications. So they have to take into consideration how much money we have to give out, the entire region, and the impact. So not every grant application that comes in will be funded, unfortunately. That is just the reality of our community grants. We're typically oversubscribed by about 4 times the amount that we have to give out. Please don't let that discourage you to apply. We want to see your applications, and we want to see what this community needs for your area. So do apply, but just do know that our grants committee has some tough decisions to make. So our granting priorities are connected with our vital events. So our most recent vital signs report identified the following granting priorities. So you can see in that little image there, work and economy, connection and belonging, and then basic needs, including food, health, and housing. We have also linked this report on our grant guidelines. You can also find it on our website under vital signs. And we encourage you to read through our vital signs report to have an understanding of those priorities that our committees are looking for. Of course, we do fund other things. There is an other category when you go onto the application, and you're still welcome to apply for projects that don't fit within those priority areas. But as I mentioned, just keep in mind that the committee is going to reference those vital publications and those priority areas when they're evaluating the many applications we receive. So yeah, there are many worthwhile applications submitted each grant cycle, and not everything can receive funding, which is why they use this scoring scale to keep in mind things like impact, equitable regional support, and vital signs priority areas. As we go along, if you do have any questions, you're welcome to write those in the chat. We will have a time where you can come off mute as well and ask some questions. So feel free to think about those as we go along. So who can apply for our community grants? We can accept applications from qualified donees, such as registered charities with the CRA, municipalities, and school divisions. Those are all what we call a qualified donee. So if you're not sure whether you're a registered charity or a qualified donee, you can visit the Canada Revenue Agency, the CRA list of charities page, and find out. If you're not a qualified donee, you can partner with a qualified donee through what we call an affiliation process. You must find a willing affiliate that makes sense for your nonprofit or community group. And we have noticed over the last few years, it's become increasingly difficult to find affiliates because of the administrative strain and risk that the qualified donee is putting themselves at. So please keep in mind, not every qualified donee you would like to use may be willing to affiliate with you. In that same vein, the CRA has actually just recently changed the rules for who a community foundation can grant to. And so they are actually letting us grant to non-qualified donees through a community grants application-based process. Our board has approved a pilot for us as of last fall. So it's a full year of this kind of pilot, allowing non-qualified donees, so nonprofit societies in Alberta, to apply directly without an affiliate. We've understood and seen this administrative strain that it is to find an affiliate, and we really want to be able to help smaller nonprofit grassroots groups who are applying for a grant of $5,000 or less to apply directly to us without an affiliate. Of course, if you're looking for more than 5,000, you can still apply, but you will have to go through that affiliate process like you would have before. So hopefully that's clear, but please pop in if you have questions in the chat. We say it a number of times on our application and on our website. So we accept applications from qualified donees, which are registered charities, school divisions, and municipalities. And now we also accept registration or applications from non-qualified donees, a nonprofit society in Alberta, for up to $5,000 for a community grant. If you have questions about that declaration process or about if you're eligible or not, please connect with me. I can help answer this question usually pretty quick for you. So don't struggle along. Just give me a call and I'm happy to walk you through this. One thing to note, if you are going to be needing an affiliate, you will have to ask them to fill out what we call a declaration of affiliation. In that, they will have to provide their most recent financial statements as well as a list of their board members with their contact information. So just so you know, when you're going to ask them if they'll be your affiliate, those are the three things that they're going to need to provide. A signed declaration of affiliation, you can find that on our website and our application links to it. They'll have to provide financial statements and a list of board members. Hopefully that makes some sense. Again, just go ahead and pop in the chat if you have some more questions around it, and I will get back to those. So just want to kind of touch on what makes sense for qualified donees and non-qualified donees in a relationship. So when a non-qualified donee, like that nonprofit society, partners with a qualified donee, which would be like a registered charity, they must demonstrate that the funds were used for the intended charitable purposes. They also must demonstrate that there's a relationship between the two already. So that could be a financial relationship, that could be an in partnership, maybe they let you use their space, or they are a sponsor, or they have a member of their board sit on your committee. Whatever the relationship could look like, there has to be an existing relationship, and it has to make logical sense for that project. So I'll just give an example here. An example of a relationship between a non-qualified donee and a qualified donee would be the Redcliffe Legion. So they're a non-qualified donee partnering with the town of Redcliffe, which is a municipality, a qualified donee, for an upcoming capital upgrade or program. This affiliate must be a clear partnership. For example, it wouldn't make sense if the Redcliffe Youth Action Society was the affiliate for the Redcliffe Legion for a capital building upgrade. However, if they were partnering to put on a program for youth at the Legion, then this would be a direct partnership. Both of them would be involved and benefiting from the program. So think through that as you're thinking about, do I need an affiliate and who would make sense for our organization? And again, I'll keep saying it. I'll sound like a broken record, but please connect with the office if you are not a registered charity, and we can walk you through this process and answer any of these questions. So I briefly mentioned the areas that we serve, but here is a clear map of the areas that we serve across Southeastern Alberta. If you are outside of our area but looking to expand your project into Southeastern Alberta, we would really encourage you to please focus on establishing local collaboration and partnership long before applying. There is a question about partnerships in the application, and if there are no local partnerships listed, our committee uh, won't be able to evaluate it very strongly. So in addition, we encourage you to align your project with the Community Foundation's vision to support a vibrant, healthy, and caring community. And we also would encourage you to be prepared to demonstrate that your project addresses a need that has been identified and how it was identified. So this could be through our vital signs research or your agency's own research. Maybe you've done client surveys or just been able to, do your own research in your agency. But addressing a need and showing us how that need was identified is really important. I would also encourage you to have your application be able to articulate some measurable impacts on the community that you're serving. So those are some kind of additions that we're looking for. Not only do you have to be a qualified donee or have an affiliate, but we also would like you to meet those criteria listed here. Sorry, my throat's dry today. Lots of water breaks. So this slide is just all about our diversity, equity, and inclusion statement. So we will provide technology support, like one-on-one instructions for individuals who may not have experience with digital platforms. Our whole granting process is online. It's on a grant platform, and we know there are many grassroots organizations that have volunteers applying for grants that have maybe never used this kind of platform before. So we're here to help. We're here to walk you through those things. Again, just give us a call. And we also want to honor oral practices and accommodate technical or physical barriers. So we will accept recorded oral applications if this is a need of yours. However, the deadline for this is much earlier. It'll be March 5th this year. So if you require one of those accommodations, please get in touch with me as soon as possible so I can provide you that support. Don't wait till the last day or the last minute if technology is not your friend. Start this early, connect with us early. We can help you, but not on the very last day. Yeah, that's what I want to say about that. All right, so this is all about what we will fund. A long list. Hopefully, this can check some boxes for you as you're thinking through what projects or programs you want to apply for. So we can fund short-term or long-term projects. These can either be new or substantially enhanced ongoing projects that serve to create a vibrant, healthy, and caring community. Sorry. If it's a program that CFSEA has previously funded, we really need you to explain how you've enhanced the program, how you've increased numbers, or how you've seen an increased need, or how you've changed things based on feedback you've received from clients. If it's the exact same request year after year, there's a very low chance it will receive funding. We have more clearly defined operating expenses and administrative expenses over the last year. So if you're not familiar with our changes to this, read these carefully. But operating expenses can be up to 50% of the total grant, and they must pertain to the project. So, for example, program staff wages gas for program vehicles, those kind of things. For example, say an animal shelter wants to apply for $10,000 for a pet boarding program for people fleeing domestic violence. They could ask for $5,000 for the vet costs, care, feeding of the pets, those kind of things, and then $5,000 for the staff wages for those who are taking care of the pets. So as long as it's a direct program expense um, uh, that needs that staff member, it's eligible for their wages to be applied. We recognize that some programs are literally the staff. That's the only thing that the program needs. Maybe a little bit of printing and a computer to do the project. But we understand that staff wages is an important part. So if that's you, connect with me and I can help you figure out how to present your budget for that. But yeah, that is one thing the committee has gotten more understanding about, and we want to be a little more flexible with. On the flip side, though, administrative expenses are those more broadly defined costs related to business operations like rent, utilities, insurance, supervisor wages. This can be up to 10% of the grant request. So just make that distinction in like a supervisor wage versus the actual person, the program staff doing the program. That those are different wages, different percentages that we will cover. We've been seeing more and more requests for capital and equipment-based projects. Those are eligible, but we have just had to put a cap on it. So it's up to $10,000 for capital and equipment costs. Those could be things like fencing, building enhancements, a stove, computers, AC units, you name it, those kind of things. And then, as I mentioned at the very beginning, we do provide multi-year funding as an option, but we have very specific criteria that you'd have to meet in order to be eligible for multi-year funding. This is really for organizations who are implementing a pilot project that require additional time to measure those outcomes and need that second year to measure the outcomes. And then multi-year funding is not guaranteed. It'll be based on an interim report and funds available the following year. I also just want to speak to, it's not on the screen, but I want to speak to events and conferences specifically. If this is something you're applying for, the committee would just like you to know that priority will be given to events that leave a tangible impact or have follow-up components. Ideally, events and conferences would be free and open to the community, but if that event does have a fee, we would like to see it to be able to be subsidized. If those things are check marks for you and your event or conference, you can still apply. If the event is restricted and cost is prohibited to members of the community, it will likely not be considered. Again, it just always depends on what kind of request we get in, how much we have to give out. So those are just some of the guidelines. They're not hard and fast rules, but just some things that the committee would like to share with you as they will be the ones evaluating it. Feel free to connect with me if you're applying for an event or conference, and I can kind of flesh out some of those guidelines for you. All right, so this is a list of things that CFSEA will not fund. Large capital projects that are over $10,000, we won't fund. If your project as a whole is over $10,000, that's okay, but you can only ask for up to $10,000 from us. Playground and recreation structures. We also have a cap for this. So we can fund up to $2,500, but if you ask for over, it would not be granted. So playground and recreation structures would be things like a basketball court, splash parks, playgrounds, those kind of things. Another thing that we will not fund is retroactive funding. Even for multi-year grants, you cannot spend your second year budget during year one. So if you are looking to get a project started next month and you're planning on spending the money and getting things started and then getting this grant, that will not work for us. That would be retroactive funding. You cannot spend the money before you've received it. And these grants don't go out until end of May. So just keep that in mind as you're applying. And then as well as the rest of the things on this list here, we will not fund. So a few things to ask yourself before you start. This is kind of our recap time. So what type of organization are you? Are you a registered charity or are you a nonprofit society? Will you need an affiliate? If you're not clear at this point about the affiliation process, please reach out to me. Give me a call, send me an email. I can walk you through it. Another question to ask yourself is, does your project align with CFSEA's mission and vision? Another thing that you'll want to prepare that you'll need to provide to us is your fiscal year financial statement and operating budget for the current year or most recent year. If you don't have a financial statement, show us what you provide to your board to show your last year's financial situation. We understand that not all nonprofit groups will have audited financial statements, but what is it that you're showing your board? How are you being financially responsible? We need to see this. This is a non-negotiable. We need some type of financial statement. And we all are also going to request a project budget from you. For this one, we do have a specific template that we want you to follow. You can find that template on our website, and you'll find it as you get started in your application. We're going to go over the budget in a couple slides here. If you are applying for equipment or infrastructure, we also require quotes, relevant quotes from contractors or from suppliers to demonstrate that price. So ideally, you would prepare 2 quotes for us. If you're having difficulties obtaining a second quote, just reach out to me and we can talk through that. So we're wanting to see that applicants demonstrate at least one, but typically many of these strengths should be highlighted in your project and in your application. So we want to see that your project improves the mission and mandate of your organization and improves the services offered. For example, an organization who received funding was unable to run an integral cultural and mental health program because of their old equipment. So a grant they received was able to help them run program directly related to their cause. This new equipment was able to get their program running more efficiently and increase their program capacity. We want to ensure that your project is evidence-based and demonstrates a real need. So example, an organization who recently applied referenced current local news and events and articles, and they had stats to back up why their project was a need for the community. This really helps the committee evaluate the need and the impact. We also encourage you to ensure your applications promote collaboration. So one applicant applied for a grant to run a program and partnered with 4 other agencies to receive referrals for at-risk youth to partake in the program. Our committee loves seeing collaboration with services and agencies and businesses, and you can list those in your application. They can be secured or potential. You can write that down, but note those under the partnerships question. We also really appreciate understanding how your own organization will be contributing to the project. So whether that be through your current staff or your space or additional funds, or maybe there's other ways that your organization can show that they are also prioritizing this project, that they are also bought in and that they see the need for it. So those are all the things that we're looking for. Again, technically, you just have to check mark one of those, but we would like to see as many of those strengths highlighted in your project application. All right, so this is a screenshot of the budget template, the budget template that you will have to fill out when you get to this part on the application. Those little arrows there, so you can title the budget with your project name there at the top. And we're asking you to include all the expenses and sources of revenue associated with the project in the first amount column. You will then see that second amount column to show the items that the CFSEA grant will cover. This is really helpful. This kind of budget we've used is helpful for those projects that are part of a large project. If this is a smaller project and you have no other sources of revenue, both amount columns are going to be the same. So if you're wondering why there's two, again, that first amount column will be all of your sources of revenue listed. Second amount column is just the CFSEA grant. This is important on the next slide because it needs to zero out. You'll also see this opportunity to have like description and notes column. This just helps our committee better understand your project. So any details you can list here is very helpful for our committee when we're reviewing multiple budgets and multiple kinds of projects. This total will add up automatically, so you don't have to do that total. If you're doing everything right, everything will add up and zero out at the end. This next screenshot is the bottom part of the budget, the expenditures. This is where we want you to explain your program costs and descriptions in that column, that second column, the description and notes. Again, be as detailed as you can because it helps us understand as we're reading through many different projects. All right, and then we get to the two amount columns. This is where you're going to break down what you're asking for from us, from the Community Foundation, and what else is being covered in your project. So, oh dear, my computer just had a blip. Please turn back on. Okay, here we go. Hopefully everyone is still there. My computer just turned off for a second. Nicole, can you give me a thumbs up that you can still hear me and see me? Yeah, okay. Sorry guys, thank you. So this budget section here. In this example, they're asking for $4,000 from the Community Foundation for staffing expenses. So you can see this 4,000 here. Then they're providing an additional $5,000 themselves, which is that equaling that 9,000. So 5,000 from them, 4,000 from us is 9,000 total. So you can see the difference between the two amounts. Whereas the next line, they're asking for 5,000 for printing and marketing. They're not contributing any more from their own organization for printing and marketing. It's 5,000 straight across. Same with space rent and mileage. So the total expenses will add up for you as well. So it's adding up to 10,000 here. It's adding up to 15,000 here. And if you've done it correctly, down at this bottom where the arrow is pointing, this is going to zero out. This is when you know you've done it correctly because your revenue and your expenditures are the same. I recognize that budgets can get tricky, but they're so important for our committee to understand your request correctly. So again, if you're struggling or have any questions, reach out to me. Again, I said I'm going to sound like a broken record with these budgets. We are here to help. All right, so how you're actually going to get started here. After this presentation here, our grant portal will open very shortly after. The very first step is to complete a letter of intent, which is on our grant portal. It's about 6 questions. It's short and it helps us understand your program and your project. And I read through them manually and I need time to do this. So please allow 5 business days for me to read through this. It's not going to be necessarily overnight. Sometimes it is, but just give us a little bit of time. That's why this year we're implementing a deadline for the LOI, which is going to be March 10th at 4:30. So please mark that deadline down to March 10th at 4:30. March 10th at 4:30 is our LOI deadline. If you do not complete your letter of intent before this, you will not have access to the full application. That letter of intent just gives us that overview. It allows us to make sure your program is eligible before you spend all your time doing the full application. And it gives us the opportunity to provide you with some feedback after the LOI is submitted. So there is a deadline and that is important. After the LOI is approved, you will receive an email to complete your full application. Make sure you go in and do this. The letter of intent is just phase 1. It's not the full application. The full application is split up into 3 sections. We have organizational information, need and leverage, and outcome and impact. As I mentioned, there are things to attach like the budget and your audited financials. And if you're having any issues, please reach out to me or Helen and Nicole, and we can assist you in attaching those things to your application. If you've never been onto our grant portal before, this is what it looks like. Just a little snapshot of the logon page. You can access this by going to our website, clicking community grants, and clicking apply now. This is our grant portal. We call it GLM internally. If you think someone from your organization has already created a profile or a logon, if you've received a grant in the past from us, that means you already have a logon created, and we please ask you to not create a new one. If you don't know your login or you're unable to log in, even after clicking forgot your password down here, please give us a call and we can support you to get onto that. As I mentioned, if you do forget your password, it's been a year since you've applied, you can go in, click forgot your password, you'll put your email in, and they'll send you a new link automatically. So try that first. If that doesn't work, connect with us and we'll double check if you already have a user account. If you're a brand new user, you know no one in your organization has ever created an account before, go ahead, click create new account, and it'll prompt you with some questions. All right, so the grant application administration process. It's probably my 10th time saying this, but we encourage applicants to connect with our office. So connect with me if you want to discuss your idea or if you have any issues throughout the application process. We are here to help, and we would really, really rather help you early on in the process rather than waiting till that last week or that last day to help you with technical issues. So please connect with us. We're happy to help. These are the important deadlines to remember. So Monday, September 17th at noon is the absolute deadline for the spring grant applications. The LOI deadline is March 10th at 4:30. Again, if you do not complete your LOI by that deadline, you will not have access to the full application. So There are two deadlines to keep in mind. Please mark those both down. I just want to give you an overview in and how your grant is being reviewed and who's reading it. So if you're applying for a grant and you're located in one of our 4 rural fund areas, so Bruxton District, County of 40 Mile, Cypress County, or Prairie Crocus, your grant will first be reviewed by a local advisory committee member or advisory committee who um, is comprised of many local committee members who are making funding recommendations to our grants committee. If you're in Medicine Hat or Redcliffe, your application is going to our grants committee and they will review all the grants and make final recommendations to the board of directors. Our grants committee has about 10 community members and board members, and our committee declares any conflicts of interest prior to reviewing the grants. For example, if there's a committee member who sits on the board of a charity applying, they will excuse themselves during that conversation in the meeting. So just so you know, we do have also a list of our committee members on our website if you're curious or are interested. Just timeline wise, these grant decisions are finalized within 2 months of the application deadline. We first give you a phone call and then we confirm everything in writing through email. So again, please allow kind of those 12 weeks after you've submitted your application to hear back from us. This slide is just some general tips when it comes to writing the grant application. We want you to refer to the most current vital signs publication, as well as our grant guidelines. Those are both on our website. The grant guidelines are under community grants, and the vital publication is under vital signs. We want you to also feel free to simplify your application. Use bullet points. Try to use plain language and don't use a lot of like jargon. If you've been living in that industry for a long time, maybe acronyms or specific jargon means something to you, but think about it from an outsider reading it for the first time, and try to simplify it where you can. And again, feel free to use bullet form. It doesn't have to be a paragraph. Some grant writers connect with me and mention that they don't have enough room on the questions, but we truly, truly want you to use bullet points to get straight to the point with your answers. Another general tip is just to use numbers to showcase your impact. Example, how many people will be impacted? How many events per year will use this equipment? Think about the trickle-down impacts as well. So maybe you're impacting a mom, but then she gets the skills and the training through the program and she impacts her kids. So think about the trickle down and write those things in your application as well. Highlight partnerships and look for community partners to integrate with or funding partners to integrate with and list those. And when in doubt, connect with us. We are more than happy to help. If you have ideas, maybe you have a few ideas kind of swirling around and you want to brainstorm which project would work best for our grant stream, give us a call. We can talk you through it. Connect with us. If you're having any technical difficulties, if the budget's frustrating you, if attachments are frustrating you, all of those things, give us a call and connect with us. That is the end of my presentation. So please feel free to put any more questions in the chat or come off if you would like to ask some questions. I'm going to stop sharing here. Here we go. I'll try to scroll up and see if there are some questions that were not answered yet. as well. Just to clarify, organizations located within the map area on your website are eligible. Yes. They have to serve our area. So if you're applying from Calgary, but you're looking to partner and bring a program into Medicine Hat, that would still be eligible, but you would need those local partnerships established. Does that help, John? Heather asked, if you are approved donee, say a school division, do you have to provide financial from the school division as part of the application? Yes, you do have to provide the financial statement from the school division. Those are usually very readily available, so hopefully you don't have any issues with that. The spring grant cycle must be due March 17th, not September. Yes, do I have September written somewhere? I don't know. Someone can tell me where. I'll fix it. Could you please clarify? The email said March 17th is the deadline for the application. Yes, the deadline for the application is March 17th. We just have that LOI deadline this year, which is March 10th. It said September in the slideshow. Huh. I went through that with a fine-tooth comb. Sorry about that. September for the fall. You can start preparing for that. It said September on your slide with LOI dates. Thank you. Sorry about that, guys. The spring cycle is March. The fall cycle is September. I use the same slideshow for both. Is there any other questions? You are welcome to come off mute and ask those questions or pop them in the chat there.